Welcome to the Align and Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Laura Monique, teacher and curriculum writer turned program mentor and business strategist for coaches, educators, and mentors, and creator of signature program design. I've helped dozens of established coaches like you create their own signature program that creates incredible transformations and consistent growing revenue in their business. Whether you created a program that felt off in some way, maybe it felt scattered or heavy or just hard to sell, or you know you're delivering results one-on-one and you want to create a more scalable offer, this is the podcast for you. Here you'll find practical strategies, encouragement, and inspiration to create the offer that you will be known for, that feels aligned, and that you are really meant to create to inspire others. Let's dive in. Why, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Align and Inspire podcast. In this episode, I'm going to dive into the question, is your business signature program ready? I want to show you how to tell, because if you're anything like many people who listen to this podcast, maybe you've created a program before and you know that you're ready, that the signature program is right for you, you're ready to go. But you might be like many people who listen who are you may be thinking, I'd really like to create a signature program. I love the idea of it. I love the idea of creating maybe a different revenue stream in your business, creating something that feels more scalable, that can create that consistent growing revenue that I love to talk about. But at the same time, you might have some questions at the same time thinking like, am I really ready for this? Maybe you have some self-doubt. Maybe it's going to take a long time. Is it the right season for you and your business? Do you have enough expertise? All those kinds of questions that can come up when you are thinking about creating a signature program. And if you resonate with anything I've said so far, this is the episode for you. So we're going to dive into some really tangible ways for you to know if your business is ready for a signature program, and you're going to have a lot of clarity either to know, yes, I am totally ready to create the signature program, and I've been making it to be a much bigger thing in my mind than it actually is, and it's totally doable for me. Or if maybe you're not quite ready to take that step and you need to know what to work on first, we're going to dive into that in this episode as well. So I remember when I was first thinking about creating my own signature program, I remember I was a few months before, really, I was driving in my car and it was November in Vancouver. And I remember the rain just pummeling down on my car, just like I could hear it just thundering down on my car. It was November in Vancouver. And if you've ever been here or lived in Seattle, you know that it absolutely downpours rain here. It was dark and gray, and just like I could hear the windshield wipers just swishing like really, really quickly. And I had this growing sense of stress and anxiety that was just rising in my throat and in my body. And I was just gripping the steering wheel, trying to see through this rain. And I was feeling so much stress that I had to pull over my car, and I just burst into tears. And the reason I was feeling like this was because a few months prior, I had hired a coach, and she was a fantastic coach. I still follow her to this day. She's fabulous. And this was a number of years ago. This is about maybe, 6 years ago or so in my business. And I'd hired her and I'd said, I want to grow my business. I want to make more money. What should I do? At the time, I was creating lower ticket offers for teachers. And that's when I was writing curriculum. And she said, well, why don't you start a membership? She had a membership, had great experience with a membership. And there were a lot of people in my industry who had been like creating these fantastic 7-figure memberships. So I thought, okay, awesome. I'll create a membership. So a couple months later, I launched it. I filled it right away. I had fantastic. I think I had maybe 35 or 40 founding members in my membership. They were loving it. It was such an easy sell. In retrospect, I had no idea. and they were loving my content. And from the outside, it looked like I had this great foundation for this offer that I was going to grow, creating this membership for French teachers. But on the inside, I felt like I was on this hamster wheel that I could not get off. I felt so much pressure to create. And I felt this intense feeling of, what if I can't keep up with this? What if this can't keep going? What if I let people down? I just had felt so much stress, and I really wasn't growing my revenue the way that I wanted to. And at the same time, as I felt this sense of stress and just feeling like it wasn't the right offer for me, if I was honest, I really still wanted to grow my business. I wanted to grow my family. At the time, I had a 2-year-old, and I wanted to grow my family again. And I really wanted to make more money. But ultimately, I really wanted to be able to help people in a different or a more personal way, because I had been helping thousands of teachers at that point. Like, my products were selling well, but I just had no interaction with my clients, with my customers, really. I didn't see the impact that I was making on them and their lives. And so I really wanted to have something that felt more transformational, that felt more like some sort of course or group coaching program. But at the same time, I felt locked into this other offer that I had created. And I would love to tell you that it was in that moment when I pulled over my car that I let everything go and did what I actually wanted to do, but I didn't. And it wasn't until a few months later, where it was May of 2020, and I was sitting on the hospital bed. I had just delivered my beautiful baby boy. And up until that point, I had felt so much fear. I'm sure you can remember where you were in May of 2020. I had felt so much fear being pregnant during a pandemic, having so much fear of, like, I didn't even know if my husband was going to be able to be in the delivery room when I had my baby. I was so afraid of my baby getting sick in this unknown illness. And I remember in that moment thinking, okay, I really want to create this program, and it can't possibly be as scary as it is to have a baby during a global pandemic. So surely I can do this. I'm going to do this. And so I decided in that moment that when I got off maternity leave, that was the thing that I was going to do. I was going to let go of my other offers, and I was really going to focus in on having a program and what later became my signature program. So I finished my maternity leave. I launched my first program. It was called Intentional Teaching for Teachers. It was to help them stop working evenings and weekends. And I filled my beta. I had a wait list. I launched it in 6 weeks, and it blew my mind. I, at the time, had been working part-time while running my business because my business had felt so up and down, so in flux. Like, I had boom and bust. Like, I had great months, and then I had really, really low months. And it was so up and down and so dependent on the season that I didn't really feel like I could truly safely leave my part-time teaching job. And when I had this program, I was able to quit my part-time teaching job within 3 months, because I had all of a sudden this one thing that I could sell that was creating the growing, consistent revenue that I had always been looking for. So I ended up leaving my part-time position, went all in on my business, and I got my clients amazing results. And it blew my mind to think, like, for years, honestly, I'd been wanting to create this program. And I had let my fear of, what if it's too hard? What if I'm not enough of an expert? All this self-doubt really get in the way of being able to do this. And the results that my clients got just blew my mind. Like, yes, they stopped working weekends, which was fabulous, but it was what they did with that time. They started spending time with their families. They started taking care of their health, going to physio, exercising again. People started families because they had been putting it off because they thought, like, oh my gosh, I work too much. I can't possibly have a family. I had people write books, start documentaries, start businesses. Like, it truly blew my mind to think that I had let my fear get in the way of making this impact that I was here to make. And I continued to grow that program and expand that program. And I haven't actually taught ever since. That was a few years ago when I created my first, what became my first signature program. And now I help entrepreneurs do the same, right? And it really developed that growing consistent revenue for me. I could depend on that revenue because I always had something to sell. And in the way that I developed my programs with my curriculum writing knowledge, with my coaching knowledge, I was able to create these fantastic transformations. And it became the basis of what I teach people now in signature program design. And I want to share that story with you because I want to encourage you, if you've ever been feeling like, oh, I don't know if it's the right time or if it's really possible for me. I just so relate to that. And it truly is possible for you, especially when you learn how to structure it in the right way. But what you might be wondering now is, what is the difference between a course, a membership, a group coaching program, and a signature program, and which one is right for you? So in my experience, my story that I mentioned in the beginning, I mentioned that I had a membership. And honestly, a membership is a fantastic model for some people. For me personally, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, I talk about sacred money archetypes. I have Maverick in my top 3. And so for me, having something that I needed to create regularly felt very constricting for me, and it didn't offer a lot of freedom. And so it really didn't work well for me in terms of my archetype, but also I love guiding people. I love coaching. It's what I absolutely love to do. And so having a membership wasn't the right thing for me. So it's not to say that a membership is wrong. It just wasn't aligned for me. So let's talk about the difference between these things. So a membership can be kind of like a signature program. We're going to get to that in a moment, but let's look at the main distinction between a course and a signature program. For me, a course is a how-to program. It's a how to do a skill or learn something. Like, I have taken courses on how to create carousels on Instagram. So I go in, I learn skills on how to create better carousels on Instagram in this course, and then I go to create that. I've developed that skill, or a storytelling skill, or how to bake bread or gluten-free bread or whatever, right? It's a how-to skill. To me, a signature program is about creating transformation in someone else's life. It's more than just how to. Yes, it can incorporate how to, but it is changing someone's life. So when I look back, I was thinking about creating a course or a group coaching program when I had teachers go from working hours and hours and hours every week. I don't even know how many hours, maybe 50, 60, whatever, to having freedom in their lives to be able to take care of their health and start a business. That is a transformative experience for them, right? Like, that created a transformation in their lives. So that was a signature program. It's also a program that you can truly be known for, that really sets you apart in your industry. There are lots of different people in the teacher, they call it the teacherpreneur world. I never loved that title, but anyway, in the teacher entrepreneur world, but not everyone was creating those kinds of transformations. Like, I can really stand out in that signature program. And so the difference between a course and a signature program is a signature program creates transformation. I have a core component in my program, and I encourage my clients to have that too. It's really helpful, but it is not just a how-to program. It creates transformation. A group coaching program can be a signature program, 100%. The caveat that I say is that I recommend that my clients still have a core course component, that if you don't have a core curriculum in place and it's all coaching, then people are going to have to look back on your videos to get the information that they need. And they're not going to be able to necessarily look back and apply what you've talked about. So to me, it's more than a group coaching experience, or it can be, but I like to have a kind of a combination hybrid where there's a core content component and then there is group coaching with it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's all about transformation. You might also have more of a mastermind type of model where you have your clients supporting one another in your signature program. So it's part of it, like it's also part of it. So there's different kind of pieces that you can include. It can be a hybrid. But the main thing is that a signature program creates transformation in someone's life. So can it be a membership? I would say yes, in a way, as long as it's creating a true transformation. And it's not just like my membership was, it was done for you lesson plans and curriculum, right? So, I mean, it saved teachers time, but it wasn't creating a transformation in their life. So that membership I wouldn't consider a signature program. But if you have like a longer term container where people are getting transformation and then can renew with you, and it has a kind of renewal model like mine does, I would still consider that a signature program. So I just wanted to get clear on that for you. And you can decide, maybe you want to create a how-to course. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. There are fantastic how-to courses out there, and there's definitely a market for them. It's just, are you here to teach a skill or are you here to create a transformation? A signature program is more of a transformative experience. So let's talk about what you need to have in place, what you don't need to have in place to know what you need to have a signature program. So the first thing a lot of people ask me is, do I need to have an audience? Or do I need to have a big audience? So here's what I would say for that. I don't think you need to have an established audience in place, but it definitely helps. The thing that I would say that you do need is you need to have clarity on your niche and the problem that you solve. So the person that you help in a very specific way, and the specific problem that you solve. When you know that and you have experience with that, you can start to create your signature program, even if you don't have a large audience. So in both of I've created a number of different programs, to be honest, but in every program that I've created, I haven't had a huge audience. Like right now, at the time of recording, I have less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. I probably have about a 3,000 person email list at the moment. That's still growing. But when I started, I didn't even have that. I maybe had a few hundred people on my Instagram that I had just started. And I don't even know if I had an email list, or I maybe had like 100 people on my email list. It was very small, and I was still able to start my program because I knew that this is the thing I was here to build, that I was going to create it over time, which we're going to get to, and it would grow into my signature program. So I did not have a very large audience. When I started my teacher signature program, I had about 2,000 followers on Instagram. I did have a Facebook group of another 2,000 people, and I probably had around 2,000 people on my email list. So I did have a slightly bigger audience, but it wasn't huge. So I've been able to create that easily in both niches. I also had it wasn't really a signature program because I didn't develop it, but I did create another kind of program like that for people who wanted to start a Teachers Pay Teachers business. And again, I had a very small, really, it was just my community of people that I knew, that I worked with people, and they joined my program, and I was able to create a program through that as well. So the answer to this is, if you have a small audience, that's all you need. If you have no audience, that's really okay. You can still, if you have connections in the community that you want to serve, that's really all you need to get started. But it is easier when you've already built at least a small audience. The big thing that you absolutely need in your signature program is a starting point of your niche. So who you serve and the problem that you solve. So every time I've gone to create a program, I had a really clear idea of who it was going to be for and what the problem was that I was going to solve. It has evolved over time, but without that knowledge, it's going to be very, very vague. And sometimes people create courses on their topic, but without having a specific problem that you solve, it's going to be vague and it's not going to have that transformative feel that we're looking for in a signature program. So you do not need to have a large audience. You can start with a small audience for your signature program. But here's what you do have to have in place. You do have to have a niche, an ideal client that you're going to solve. And ideally, you want to have experience with that person or that kind of client so you know that your program, you have an idea of how to help those people. However, it is not 100% necessary that you have worked with them one-on-one. If you have worked with clients like that one-on-one, it's definitely going to help you for sure. Or if you created programs before, but you're kind of tweaking them or refining them, absolutely, it does help. But when I created signature program design, I did have experience working one-on-one because I started working one-on-one with entrepreneurs on the side as I was building up my entrepreneur business. But when I worked with teachers, honestly, I did not work with them one-on-one to start. I did create more one-on-one offers outside of my signature program. But I just knew what had worked for me in the classroom to really help me streamline how I was running things in the classroom. And I did enough market research that I could guess, okay, I think I can do a beta. I can teach people what I know. I can use my curriculum strategies to find out what I need to include, and that can become my basis. So what I would say is you need to have a niche and your ideal client. And you need to do, if you haven't worked with them before, you at least need to do some market research to really discover what it is that they're looking for that it's really going to help you. So what you don't need is tons of one-on-one experience, tons of coaching course experience, because your signature program is developed over time. And this is the thing that I think a lot of people get hung up on is either they want to create their signature program and then their ego will tell them, you don't have enough time. It's going to be so time consuming. It's not the right time. You're not ready, blah, 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 like mine did. Or you're going to think it needs to be perfect and you're going to spend all this time perfecting it in the beginning. But the thing about a signature program is you don't start your first version of it as your signature program. It's just your first beta version, and it becomes your signature methodology over time. And I'm going to link up in the podcast show notes one of the episodes that I did on this on becoming a phase 1 or a phase 2 expert, because you need to go through that phase 1 where you're pulling, your expertise that you've learned from other mentors, maybe books that you've read, programs that you've done, and you're basically kind of like taking all your knowledge and helping people find it. And then when you become a phase 2 expert, you're really developing your own methodology and your own signature process. And that's when it becomes your signature program. But don't let feeling like you're a phase 1 stop you from creating your signature program, because it is developed over time. So I always think about it as if you're drawing a picture, or if you're painting a picture rather. Now, some people will just start painting freestyle, but most of the time, if you're painting like a portrait or I don't know, a landscape or something like that, you're going to sketch out the lines of the mountains and where your horizon is and the shapes that are going to be in the ocean and on land, maybe even just slightly before you start to fill it in with color and layer on paint. And it becomes this work of art over time as you layer on. So you don't start with this finished painted product. So your signature program is the same. You want to start by creating that sketch with your beta, and then you refine it and improve it over time, and it becomes your signature program. So just know that as long as you know you have something to teach, maybe you've been doing it in your 9 to 5, or you've been doing it with your one-on-ones, or you've been doing it in some sort of, even in your career, in your business in some way, and you want to mentor others. If you have had success with this one skill, and honestly, I think a lot of us have something that we can teach, and you've done your market research, you know who your ideal client is, and you know the problem that it is that you solve, then you are ready to start creating your signature program. If you don't have those things and you're brand new to business, the first thing I would start looking at is doing that market research, talking to ideal clients and asking them questions like, what is it that you're struggling right now around X topic? If I could wave a magic wand and get you a solution for that, what would you want? What results are you looking for? What would make a difference for you? You need to have a really clear of your ideal client, what they're thinking about, what their problems are, what solutions they're looking for, and that can form the base of your signature program, but you need to have those things first. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. If it was, leave me a review on your podcast listening app of choice. I would love, love, love to hear from you. And I will see you on next week's episode of the Align and Inspire podcast.